the girls. Good morning, ladies. Oh, now they're all running after. About 10 o'clock this morning. It is hot already. This is we're just trying to come out and get chores done before it gets too hot. So this is my teenage girls, and trying to get a better, there they are. And we have one guinea in there. One guinea that survived out of the last guineas that we got, and this guinea thinks she's a chicken now because she's in here with the chickens. It's just kind of funny because she, it seems like she just doesn't know any better, but that's the way stuff goes on a farm. So, but we have some beautiful girls in here that hi, hello. They're just so pretty. So, yeah, they're doing good. They're actually doing really well. And we ended up with some, I guess some tomato seeds that got kicked out of the coop. So like here and over here, they just started coming up, and I recognized them as tomato plants and just threw a cage around them. And then there's another one over here that I saw pop up, and so I just thought, we'll see what they do. I don't know what they are. It'll be a good surprise. So came out this morning to try to get chores done early before it gets too hot, and then we're gonna head back over to the house and get some things started for the day. Okay, so story about the garden. I really didn't have like a plan for the garden this year other than do what I could do in the boundaries of my health, and just enjoy being out in God's creation and working and growing and doing a hobby that I enjoy. But so then we started seeds. This is a tomato that my mom gave me, and the tomatoes in here are giant. I don't know if you can see how big they are. This place has got to be weeded so bad. We ended up having to go to Mayo, and while we were gone, it rained like every day for like 12 days. And when we came back, it was like, when we left, it was like really manageable and like not a lot of weeds. We came back, it's just so wild. It's just so wild and like all over the place, but that's the way that nature is, like the earth, I like to think of as, she's modest, and so if you leave dirt uncovered, she will cover herself. So anyway, so this is where we are. So I'm getting distracted, and I didn't come out here to get distracted. I came out here to just kind of look and see what's going on. And so we originally planted things. I didn't start any sunflower seeds. So all of these sunflowers, they actually grew around the chicken house over here, around the outside of it, whenever Bobby was building it. So my brother helped me dig them up and transplanted these little, they were really small, and I like to put them down the middle of the tomatoes. So we just put those in, and they're doing really well. So all of these sunflowers came from just chicken feed that we feed the chickens. I didn't buy any special seeds. I just, they came from what the chickens eat, and they scratched and kicked it out, and it grew sunflowers. So they're actually really pretty. These are just seed potatoes that he started, but they got massive. I haven't seen potatoes get this tall. So they're doing really good. I've not seen any blossoms on them yet. That means they're still growing. So they're doing really well. Let me see here. I can't remember what tomato. So I made a chart of what tomatoes I planted where. I need to look at it, or I labeled it, but now it's overgrown with weeds and I can't see what was there. So excuse me. So Bobby put in these trellises so the tomatoes can grow up on those, and then he put down all this rock, and that really helps with drainage for sure, and we don't have as much upkeep on weed eating. But now we've got weeds to pull, but you know, that's the way life happens. We just do what we can, and it comes to a point where you just kind of, you know, it gets dangerously hot, and then you're looking at your gardening and you kind of salute it and you go, best of luck to you. And I'll pull weeds in the morning, and if I feel like it, and if I don't, then I've done what I could do, and my plan was to grow something, to have a hobby, not necessarily like make it a super like grow everything we need for a year kind of thing, but to just to be out here and to take my mind off the news and to know that I'm doing something healthy for my family. And if it works out, great. And if it doesn't, I still had a great time in the garden. So in these beds, you can't tell at all. There's onions and marigolds. They're grown up. The onions are still doing okay in there. Part of me likes to believe that this chaos gardening is helping in some way, but then the other part of me is like, when we got back from Mayo, when we found some baby copperheads in the garden, it also makes me kind of scared to dig in there without, making sure that it's cleared out. And then there's tomatoes with the onions. That was an experiment this year to try those together and see how they do. But over here, I like this. I did this last year where I did corn in the middle. And this is field corn. I'm trying a different kind of seed. And then I did green beans around the outside because, you pick those, so you want them to be able to reach those really well. And so I did 2 beds like that. And some of it in there is Johnson grass. You can see at the top what's Johnson grass, and that's fairly easy to pull. I'll wait until it rains, probably tomorrow, and then that will be super easy to reach in there and get. These beds aren't near as weedy as a couple of the other beds. So the radish beds, I went ahead and let them go to seed because I wanted the radish seed. So those are the radish beds that I let go to seed. Pulled the radishes and grabbed the seeds, and we will weed eat that down, pull it out, and get it ready for probably fall squash. So anyway, peas did okay this year. They're actually still producing a lot. So peas did really well. They did good. They're still doing well. Even in this heat, they're doing really well. So they're still producing, doing good. I just don't come out here very often and get into anything. I think the squash bugs have already gotten into my squash, which that's normal. That is really a lot of my fault. The squash bugs got into these so soon. This is actually, it looks like zucchini. This is not, look, see, there's the squash bugs. I don't know if you can see those. So the way I like to handle these is I usually carry like a little vacuum, and I just vacuum them up. But you'll have to turn over like every leaf and look for these eggs right here. And then what we do is we take duct tape and just turn it inside out and grab them with duct tape, and it just pulls them right off. There's something about squash bugs that whenever you smash them, see, look, there's like a little squash that's coming up there. Looks like a little zucchini, which I could have swore that I planted straight neck yellow here and the zucchini over here, but that's turning out to be false. that's actually kind of funny. So there's more squash bug eggs. So what you do is you just, yeah, take tape, turn it inside out in your hand, and you just barely touch it and it pulls it right off. And then there's no smashing. When you smash them, it releases some kind of scent. Excuse me. That lets the bugs know, that lets more bugs know to come. So we try not to smash the squash bugs. So this bed is doing actually pretty good, minus the squash bug situation. Like I said, the radishes. In this bed, I have peas on the outside, loads of carrots on the inside. You can see the carrots by their leaves right here. These are all carrots in there. They're doing really well. I don't have an urgency to pull the weeds in there. Probably should. But again, it's just one of those things. You do what you do in your season of life that you're in. And sometimes it's just gathering the tomatoes from the outer edges. And sometimes you really get to get in and work. But sometimes healing is, your healing is important. Your mental health is important. And, it's looking at flowers. We have a really, this cosmos is really pretty. It fell on the seed fell on the outside. So I just let it go, and we gather cut flowers. Kind of do what we can and just really make it an enjoyable experience. So this bed is almost all tomatoes, lots of basil. So there's basil here and right along through here. I put basil in the beds. It seems to help with the tomato hornworms that try to get in and eat things. I don't remember what tomatoes I put here. I'm sure I put in tags. Let me see. This bed's not as weedy, so maybe there's a tag. These are beefsteaks. Okay, so these are all beefsteaks, so they're going to get a whole lot bigger. I do need to prune them. There's more tomatoes. Here's a replicated bed to that bed. It's the same thing over here. There's tomatoes, lots of basil, both sides. I did smaller tomatoes on this side. These I'm so excited for. I've not planted these before. This is a tomato variety that I've never done. Let me see if I can get in closer on these. These are Barry's Crazy Cherry, and then Atomic Grape tomatoes. So these Atomic Grapes, they're just so pretty. Can't wait to see what they look like when they're like ripe and ready. So those are fun. This is the pepper bed. We've actually done really well at weeding the pepper bed. I don't actually mind the pepper bed getting grown up. That peppers really, they love it hot and dry. So I kind of translate that to, if weeds are pulling water from the soil and from the peppers, they probably tend to do better. And we did that last year and actually went really well. Not that that's an excuse to not pick your weeds out of your pepper bed, but it's done really well for us. So we actually end up with really, really great harvests of peppers. And so a lot of these are ready. I picked some a few weeks ago. There's lots of jalapenos that are ready, and lots of banana peppers that are ready. And those never last. We just eat them when they get in the house. So we eat them so fast, and I'll make refrigerator banana peppers out of it, and they don't last. This bed, I can't remember what's in this bed either. I want to say that these are Arkansas Travelers. But I didn't plant these vines that are here. Those came up just volunteer from last year. Last year we had Cherokee Trail of Tear black beans here, but I coupled them with green beans, and I guess some of the beans fell. off of the old pods. And they just grew up, and I'm just letting them go, and we'll see what beans we get for snacking, and it'll be nice. There's more peas over here, more green beans to pick. I did plant green beans here, so I ended up with 4 areas of green beans that are pretty well easy to get to, but you can, looky here. These are ready. Oh boy, that's a good surprise. Yay. So like, I love fresh green beans out of the garden, and so does my kids. They really love them. We just grab them and eat them, and sometimes they last for dinner and sometimes they don't. But I need to weed this bed, or just I'll kind of poke at it and make sure that there's nothing living in there before I, pick them. I'll probably do that again after the rain. I'll probably do that because it'll be a little bit cooler in the evenings after we get a little bit of rain, and then I won't have to water. Got some looks like a ragweed that's come up, but there's some things that's just kind of done really well, some things that have struggled. Trying to see. Oh yeah, there's a lot more peas over here too. We need to pick peas. We need to pick peas and peppers and green beans. There's lots of things like that to get. I just, these are so pretty. I said gardening is great and supplies food, but in the season that I'm in, with how the Lord has just ushered me into a place of just being obedient. Let's see if there's a bumblebee. They're so pretty. They're doing so well. It just brings me joy, and that adds healing to my day and to my life. Whenever Mayo Clinic can't figure out what's going on, and they kind of pass you off to the next thing, and you're just struggling, and you want to keep going and doing and living. You don't want to just stop living, so you just do what you can, and you make it, you make it matter. The days that you're living in right now, these are like, we talk about the good old days. Oh, remember the good old days when we did this or we did that? And so I like to take those things, and I'm like, hey guys, do you remember that day that, we had a bad storm and we lost power, and, we ended up having a good time anyway? Or remember that time that we were, we planted a whole bed of flowers, and a few came up, but then there was a whole lot of weeds. It really is. That's life. It really is. To just live and see God in all of it. This is my Indian corn, and we've not done Indian corn before. My mom and my dad and my brother, they know how to do Indian corn really well. I've never gotten my Indian corn to do super great, but it'd be nice to have some fall decoration and just pull it and use it for decoration out front and say, well, that was something that we grew and we had a good time doing it. And this is our new guy in the garden. He was somewhat of an impulse purchase. He just brings me joy. I wanted him to be put here so I can see him from the house really easily, and I just look out here and I see him, and it just brings me joy and reminds me of the rooster that we had that started it all. And he was Ollie. He wasn't super nice to people, but he was super great to his hens. And so he was killed by a weasel back in the winter, and it just broke our hearts. We miss Ollie. And so I saw this and I was like, I've been thinking about getting one. And I had a Tractor Supply gift card, and I was like, that sounds like a great idea, and it would bring me some joy. So just, even if I can't do everything, just doing a little bit gives me peace. And it gives me some kind of sense of accomplishment that says, you know, even though the weeds have grown up, I planted something that the weeds could grow around, you know, and I can come out here and just ruthlessly pull weeds whenever I feel great. Whenever I don't, I just pray over it and, you know, trust God in the process. Because He's so good. Even when we don't see it, He's amazing. If we just look for it, it makes us feel even better, you know? So, I love seeing the sunflowers. They're just so happy. So yeah, there's work to be done, but it's good work. You know, like when we get out here and work, sometimes we have a tendency to complain, and we have a tendency to you know, just kind of mumble and grumble, but we're supposed to do things without groaning, right? Do it all for the glory of God, to the glory of God. I mean, if we just kind of like, I mean, He's with me, He's with you, He's with me wherever we go. And if we just remember that He's always in the room, how different does that kind of mentality just changes everything. Hey, there's some new little baby tomatoes coming on. These are going to be cherry tomatoes, large cherry tomatoes. That's exciting. So the whole purpose was to come out and do the chickens, but I wanted to walk through the garden, kind of see what was here. I'm super excited about these green beans. I just can't get over these green beans. I love fresh green beans. I'm going to go ahead and get those while we're here. See? So there's probably, this whole row is like got a ton on here. I could pick these and have them for supper tonight. This is amazing. So see, happy little surprises just come from seeds that we plant. And the seeds that we plant in the people's lives that we come into contact with. Things grow. We may not see it. There's more tomatoes on here. These are Rutgers. I'm pretty sure these are Rutgers. There's labels in there. I did do labels this year, and I just cannot see them down at the bottom. Maybe next year I should hang the labels up like higher. But these are I'm pretty sure these are Rutgers. Oh wait, look, there's a label. Oh, big boys. Those are big boys. Yeah, those are big boys. So I think I did big boys down here in Rutgers, down on the end. So happy surprises, happy things to see. Oh, look at all those beans. We said we all love fresh green beans. So this is happy. This is a good thing. That's great. So, in the meantime, we're just here for a purpose, and we plant seeds and we grow, and sometimes weeds come up, and sometimes we can do stuff about the weeds, and sometimes we can't. And look, and then we look for the beauty. Look, I have a little marigold that came up, and he's just kind of hanging out. He's living in the weeds, and he's okay. So, anyway, I'm just thinking about things to look at that. Look at all this tomato. There's gonna be. I'm gonna be drowning in tomatoes here pretty soon, and I'll have to do a canning video because I got a new canner. I've always done tomatoes frozen. I usually just freeze them and just use them for goulash or pasta, spaghetti, anything like that. But I have a new canner, and so I need to get out this. It's a digital pressure canner, so you kind of can like set it and forget it. You don't have to sit and babysit that. And so that's exciting. So I want to try that. Maybe I'll do a canning video. But I wanted to, like, gardens are so similar to life, right? And it just reminds me that amidst all the weeds and all the chaos, we can still find all this goodness if we look for it. And sometimes it's great. There's some seasons, some garden seasons, that you don't have hardly any weeds and things have gone well and you're feeling great and it rains the right amount and it's not too hot and, you know, everything's going wonderful. And then there's other seasons where you're just happy for a green bean, happy to see something good. So let me encourage you today to look for the good. Look for those volunteer good things that popped up. Volunteer good things that just come up. The beans that are done just a little bit early. So anyway, until next time, have a good day. Have a good weekend, because today is Friday. And hope to see you next time.